Hello?
Turn it up loud, but bring them all out. Turn it up loud, but bring them all out. Turn it up loud, but
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dial In. I'm your host, Alyssa Pimentel, and I'm so glad you are here tonight for a special episode with the beautiful Rita Mayfield. Hey! Before we get into this awesome conversation, Rita, I want to thank our sponsor who helped make tonight's episode possible. And you can see their logo. You can always see our sponsor's logo on the bottom of the screen. It's always there. Tonight's episode is proudly sponsored by my friend Liz with Milani's Daycare, located at 36858 Northwestern Avenue in Gurnee, Illinois. And she has been running that daycare for a long time. I know everyone's always asking, where can I find a safe and reliable daycare? They are full-time and they have flexible options. So if you want a family-style approach known for their warmth and their love for the kids, you can reach them at 224-321-4730. Huge thank you to Milani's Daycare for sponsoring. Thank you, Milani's. Thank you. Now we can get into our conversation. How are you, Mrs. Mayfield?
I am doing well. Thank you for inviting me on this show. I've been watching. I really love what you're doing here. So I'm really proud to be here tonight.
Oh, and I'm so grateful to have you. Honestly, seriously, everyone's like, you got Rita? I'm like, oh yeah, I got Rita. She's coming on. So I appreciate you believing in the podcast and being willing to sit here with us. And I'm just going to move this just a little bit. Okay, perfect. Sorry. Thank you, Robert. That was Robert.
All right, no worries.
This is a live broadcast. So if you guys do have any questions, we're going to do our best to respond to you in the chat. Shout out to Waukegan Mail Depot. They are loving on us as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, if anybody does want to chime in, we'll try our best to communicate with you there. But for those of you that don't know Rita, man, where do we even begin?
Well, Rita is a lifelong resident of the Waukegan area, born and raised Waukegan, North Chicago. This is truly my home. My family has been, my family is one of the founding families for North Chicago. Yes.
What do you mean by founding family? Is like they were one of the first?
One of the first African-American families that actually moved into North Chicago. My grandfather's family, they migrated up from Georgia. Yes, so they owned a lot of property in North Chicago, and what they did, they helped other families come up, and what they did, they would rent these homes. They were just small starter homes. I guess we would probably call them maybe like a condo style almost in this day and age. But families would come up and they would give them a place to stay until they could get their feet settled, and then they would move out, and then another family would move in.
What year was this?
This was the late 1800s.
Late 1800s. Girl, you've been here.
1800s. My family has been here.
Oh, my gosh.
We have been here, yes. So the Mayfield name is staple in North Chicago. It's the Mayfields and Montgomerys. They intermarried. They are the oldest family. So shout out to my Montgomery cousins as
Shout out to the Montgomery family and Mayfield family. So, wow, you're really rooted here. And for those that don't know, you're a state representative.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about from capital to community, literally.
Yes.
So born and raised, generations past, and so you've been planted here. You know this area like the back of your hand.
Graduate from Waukegan West, home of the Raiders,
Yes.
not the Bulldogs,
Oh,
but
snap.
home of the Raiders. Can we
Yes.
just throw that out there?
We gotta get those people
Forever
in here.
a Raider here.
I
Yes.
love that. And you've never left.
I've never left. It's
Wow.
all about giving back.
So what made you decide to, at what point has a politic, I don't like to say politics, I want to say for the people work, right? Has
Public service.
public service always been in your family, or did it start with you?
I would say, as far as being an elected official, I was not the first elected official in the family. I may have been like maybe the second or third.
Yeah.
But for me, this was not my goal. This was not my career path. I wanted to be a teacher. That was where I was going to go, but it just did not work out that way. Career choices, funding for college, you know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go where the money is, obviously. So, but I just actually fell into politics. So I was with a group, it was called COSLA, Citizens Organized for School Leadership Accountability. And they were started off, you know, just a couple friends of mine in the community. They were going to the school board meetings. And I had never been to a school board meeting. I wasn't even aware what was going on, you know, so I started showing up with them and they were asking questions. I'm like, can we ask questions? Is that allowed? They're like, girl, yeah, you better start asking some questions. This is your
what we're here
community.
for, yeah.
Right. So, you know, we just really started asking questions, getting involved. And at the time, my son was in middle school, and it was just amazing because I shouldn't say amazing. It was actually horrific. He had flunked his entire 7th grade year. Every single class except for lunch was a straight F. So I went to the school, to the principal, and I said, I need you to hold him back because they had passed him. And they told me, they said, no, we do not hold students back. I'm like, excuse me? He flunked every single class. What do you mean you're not going to hold him back? They're like, oh, well, you have to take it up to the school board. Went to the school board, did my little, 2 minutes of public speaking, and demanded that they hold my son back so that he could actually learn. And I was told, no, they do not do that. They
What
believed
year?
in social promotion. He was in the 7th grade.
Was
So-
this like 2000?
Oh, my God. When did I, no, this would have been, when did I first come in? This would have been, my brain just shut
How old's your
down on
son?
me, 2010. My son is 32 now.
So he's my age.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
It's been a minute. So like 2002, 2003, 2004, somewhere around
Somewhere
there.
in
Yeah.
between there. And
Okay.
it was just terrible. So when they told me no, because they really wanted to do that whole social promotion thing, they said that it wasn't good for students to hold them back. It affected their development. I'm like, no. My
right.
son didn't learn anything. I need to make sure that he, can comprehend and learn. So we ended up having to pull him out, put him in a private school that I could not afford to pay for at the time. I was not an elected official. I was working just a regular job. So, but we made sacrifices so that he could get the education that he did not receive. And I was very disappointed. And I'm like, well, if this is happening to my child, how many other students in this system are they doing the same thing too? Are they pushing forward? So I ran for school board. Lost the first time, got beaten so badly. It was shameful. But you know what? I didn't care. I didn't give up because my passion was there. I'm like, no, somebody has to be a voice. Somebody has to stand up for these kids. I felt that strong about it. I ran again.
Yes.
Yeah. I won the second time that I ran. And that's when I started, just really getting into, what's going on with the school district. How can we make things better for our children? Because that's what it's about. This is our future generation. If we're not going to educate these children, then what's the whole purpose? We're using individuals' taxpayer dollars. And I started questioning everything. Where is the money going? Why is it not going into the classroom? Why do we not have new textbooks? Having conversations with the teachers. What is it that you need that you're not getting from the administration? I was totally that squeaky wheel.
Good.
I did not have a problem being that squeaky wheel. I support our teachers 120%. Their job is not easy.
It's tough.
Especially when you have an administration that is tying their hands and not allowing them to do a lot of the things that they need to do. When I was coming up in school, my brothers, my oldest brother specifically, they used to pull him out and he would get that extra reading. They had those reading teachers.
Yeah.
And then they made a decision to get rid of reading teachers. Why would you get rid of reading teachers when you know that reading comprehension is absolutely essential?
It's the baseline.
You're right. Our children need to be able to succeed. Why are you pulling programs out that are helping our children?
Right.
It just made absolutely no sense to me at all. Just some of the things that they were doing. Anita Hanna, and I got a shout out to Anita Hanna.
Shout out Anita Hanna.
Please shout out Anita Hanna. I need you guys to know that when it comes to our student, Anita has truly, truly, truly been fighting. She was the one that really educated me on the whole special education system and what was going on with those students. So I was fighting for just our regular gen ed set, and she's like, well, wait a minute. We've got these kids here that are in our special education that are not, they don't have the textbooks. They're not getting the services. You know, the IEPs were not the way that they should have been written. So she was really advocating for that.
She's still advocating.
She is still advocating, you know, and I just think that it's just so great that we have these individuals that are out here in our community that are truly, truly fighting.
And this is Waukegan.
This is
specifically who we're talking about right now is Waukegan School District.
Specifically talking about Waukegan.
Yeah. And so Anita's wonderful. And you're so right that, you know, reading the comprehension. My mom's a para. I come from a long line of paraprofessionals. I was a paraprofessional. So I can bond with you in saying that I know that there's a need. I mean, the need is huge. It outweighs everything else. So you started there, started on the school board, but now you're a state rep.
Right. So Eddie Washington was the state representative at the time. And, you know, Eddie Washington was truly the GOAT. When it came to somebody that stood up for the least of these in our community, that was Eddie Washington. He wasn't there for the politics. He was truly, truly a man of the people. So he passed away unexpectedly in office. And I got a phone call. Somebody said, you know what, you need to run. I'm like, I can't do that, you know? And they're like, well, all they can do is tell you no. I'm like, well, yeah. I said, you know what, it'll be good practice, you know. I'll give them my spiel, you know, who I am, why I'm here, why I would even consider, because they put an ad in the newspaper. For those that didn't know, for state representative, they actually put an ad in the newspaper saying anybody that wants to be a state representative, this is the process.
Wow.
So I was the 20th person that they interviewed on that day. I was the absolute last person. And when I walked in the room, you could see they were tired. They truly didn't care. They truly didn't care. I was a nobody. I didn't have a name. You know, I'd only been on the school board for 2 years, you know, and here I come in there all bubbly and happy, you know, wanting to change the world. And they're like, oh God.
Here she goes. She's perfect. Give her the job.
No. They're like, okay, why are you here? Why do you even want this? And I was just totally honest. I said, you know, I'm not here for the title. I am truly here for the people. I want to make a difference, you know, and I talked about some of the things that we had did on the school board that I felt would be, you know, just life-changing. We went to neighborhood schools. We were busing these kids all over, saved thousands of dollars. You know, we looked at our county system. We changed that. We put security measures in place so that both the students and the teachers would feel safe being in the school, you know, and I'm like, so they're like, well, what is your agenda? I'm like, I don't have an agenda. You're not listening to me. I don't have an agenda. I'm truly here because I want to help people. I want to make a difference.
Yeah.
You know, I want to continue the work that Eddie was doing. I want to help the people that don't have a voice. And walked up out of there. I'm like, you know what? I gave it my best shot.
Yeah.
You know, I'll probably never hear from these individuals again. And then I got a call the next day.
The next day?
The next day.
Oh my gosh.
From Senator Link. He called me up. He said, can we have coffee? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking he's going to ask me to maybe run for something else.
Yeah.
You know, but he didn't. He's like, you know, I really liked what you said. He said, were you serious when you said that you just wanted to support? I'm like, absolutely. That is what I'm here for. You know, I want to make a difference. How can I, you know, be the voice of the people? And he's like, well, I would like to offer you this position.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I like died on the spot. I'm like, oh my God. You know, and I got to give a shout out. I had a praying mother, praying grandmother.
Amen.
The whole family was praying. You know, I honestly did not believe that I was going to be the one picked. Like I said, I was the last one that they interviewed. But I think it was my enthusiasm that just really came through. You know, I was sincere. This is what I wanted to do. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm probably still here is because I truly want to make a difference. I truly want to help people. It was never about, you know, the politics. It was always about the people.
And I got to commend you for that, because as somebody who's been growing and you know, shaking more hands and seeing more people, your name has stood the test of time since I can remember. You know, if Rita's name is on it, it's legit. It means that something good is happening. She supports something good. So thank you for the work that you've done. Thanks for first standing up for the kids.
Oh, yeah.
And then
still standing up for them.
still standing up for them, but starting with literally the least of these, which is our children, and our kids need a voice. So thank you for being that voice. And then thank you for continuing at a state level to say, I want to learn even more. When you entered into being a state representative, you know, just like you had that kind of shock walking into the school board meeting and kind of seeing like, wait, we can ask questions, and wait, what's actually going on? Where's our tax dollars going to? When you walked into being a state representative, which congratulations, years and years and years of doing that. But what was the biggest shock to you that you learned that you would, you know, share with somebody who maybe doesn't know how these things operate?
Lobbyists. They do not prepare you for lobbyists. They have one mission, and that is to kill whatever legislation that you are putting forward that they do not agree with.
Okay.
So, you know, we all grew up on Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill sitting here. And I was excited. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to write all these great bills. I'm going to fix the system. And then I had a lobbyist come up to me and say, I don't like your bill. And I'm like, I don't care if you don't like my bill. I'm going to run this bill. You know, I believe in this. And then you get to committee, and you've got this person sitting next to you, and they are literally shooting down every single thing positive that you are trying to do. And I was deeply offended.
Yeah.
I'm like, where the heck did this guy come from? What is going on with this? And they're like, honey, get used to it, because this is what they get paid for. And these lobbyists, you know, they're high powered. Yeah. You got anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and their job is basically to shoot down legislation that their business partners are not interested in.
Wow.
And it happens a lot. And, you know, unfortunately, it's part of the system, but you have to learn to build relationships so that you can start working through, you know, okay, what are your concerns with this bill? How can I make it better? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And sometimes that's when you really have to build your relationships with your coworkers, your peers, to say, I really need this to pass. This is going to make a difference for the people in my community, you know, and you just keep going, and you cannot give up. You know, this year specifically, I had two pieces of legislation that I had worked on for years, literally years, that finally got passed. The first one, which I thought was common sense legislation, that basically said that if you, for lost and stolen firearms, you need to report it within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Can you believe it took 13 years to pass that?
13 years
for common sense legislation that says if you lose a firearm or if it is stolen, that you just have to report it within 24 hours of knowing that it was lost or stolen.
What was it before? Nothing? Like
it was not. The
was no
entire
time frame?
gun lobby came out and opposed to that bill. So I had Republicans that wouldn't vote for it. I had Democrats who wouldn't vote for it because of their districts, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, this is common sense.
Right.
You know, you're worried about all these guns that are out here on the street. They're lost or stolen, and you're not wanting to report the fact that you lost or...
Right. It's funky.
Right. And then you had these repeat individuals who just kept losing. How do you keep losing 10 guns? How do you keep losing 10 guns?
And that took 13 years.
It took 13 years. And that legislation, I had an intern from the University of Illinois who actually worked on that with me, Michael Rosenbaum. He was really, really good.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he actually he reached out to me. He was in going to school for political science. He said, I've got this project that I want to work on. You know, are you interested in working on legislation with me? I'm like, absolutely. So we met with DEA agents. You know, we met with police officers. We met with just a ton of individuals, victims, family victims, you know, everybody, you know, just to kind of get a better understanding of what was going on around the guns. But that whole gun lobby, it took 13 years. It passed this year. I was so excited that one finally passed. Then there was one a little bit more recent. Anthony McIntyre, the founder of Ant Mound.
Yeah.
He came to me and he said, did you know that felons can't buy life insurance? I'm like, sure they can.
What?
I know. That's what I said. I'm like, of course they can buy life.
Did you all know that felons couldn't buy life insurance?
I did not know that either. So, and I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, no, absolutely not. You cannot buy life insurance. It took 8 years to pass that particular piece of legislation. I had to keep introducing it year after year, and and every year the insurance lobby, they came out strong. Totally opposed.
I could see, now that I'm thinking about it, I could see where their opposition could be of how somebody might die if they have a record or so. I could see, like, because you got to
But
think
if
of
it's-
everything,
Okay,
right?
but think about all the different felonies. Let's say you have a felony DUI.
Right.
It's a felony. You didn't,
Right. Girl,
are
I got
you
a
saying
record.
right. You can't say
Yes.
that person doesn't deserve life insurance,
Right.
that they don't deserve to leave,
Their
their
family.
family in a position to where you're not doing a GoFundMe.
Right,
I
right.
mean, this, again, common sense legislation.
Absolutely.
And it just took forever. And even this time around, it still took a lot to get the insurance industry on board. And I think what really helped was the fact that I kept working. I jumped on the insurance committee.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm like,
You know
you
what?
are, I'm going to get on
Fiery.
this committee because I really want to pass this. I felt when he told me that, I'm like, oh, no. My cape came out. It was blowing in the wind. I'm like, no, we're going to pass this. I wore my coworkers down.
Yeah.
I did. My other colleagues, the other representatives, because, you have to get it out of committee first.
Okay.
And it was not easy. They did not want to vote for it because if you're look at the lineup for that insurance committee, the Republicans are always going to vote no.
Right.
But then you've got these conservative Democrats, and whatever the insurance industry wants, they just like rubber stamp. I'm like, no, you cannot continue to say yes to them when there's this group of individuals that are being denied a right.
Yeah, no
know?
life insurance because you have a felony. I
Because you
wouldn't
have a
even.
felony, right.
Shout out to everybody who's loving on you, Marcus King. Not to change the subject, but just real quick, Quinones Catalina. She says Rita, she's about the people and doing the right thing. Marcus King says go Rita Mayfield. If you guys love this, definitely share it. Coach Wood said this is good. Georgina says hey. This is good stuff. See, I'm learning so much, which is part of why I was so excited because I know you too in a sense, and I'm like I just love your energy. Even when we're at balls and things, you still like to have a good time, and you're still very human. But I was excited because I knew I was going to learn things today, and I didn't know that felons could not get life insurance until recently because you worked with people to get that done.
Right. So we actually got that passed, and I have to give a shout out to Senator Adrienne Johnson because she's my counterpart in the Senate. So we got it passed in the House, and when it went over to the Senate, they actually attacked her for running the bill in the Senate. Yes. Oh, my God. When I tell you the level of ignorance that she had to deal with in the Senate, they're like, why do you want to give insurance to felons? And she's like, are you kidding me? But I really want to shout her out. She was a strong sponsor for that bill, and she helped me to get it over the finish line in the Senate.
That's
so
amazing.
shout out to my senator.
Shout out Adrienne Johnson.
Yes.
She was tagged on one of my posts recently.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm learning so much in this podcast.
But the fact that, they finally gave it to me in the House. I guess they said, this girl ain't going to stop.
Yeah.
So they figured they would let it go to the Senate and try to stop it over there. But it didn't happen. So we were actually able to get that passed.
Personally,
two great bills
that's
this year.
amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And that was just 2025.
That was just 2025.
Do you have to hit like a quota?
No.
To know? So
No,
are there
there's no
any
quota.
people who aren't doing anything? I'm just curious. If there's not like a quota as like a state representative, is there people who are doing, and you don't have to shout them out. I'm just curious. Are there people who aren't like really working their job?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I just think that some people have different priorities.
Okay.
For me, it's, how can I help? What can I
Right.
do to move that needle just a little bit further?
Yeah.
And you just keep pinching away at it little by little, chipping away little by little until you can finally get what it is that you need to get. But others are interested in like leadership roles. Others are interested in using this as a stepping stone to other positions because, you can definitely move up to other positions.
Can a felon be a state representative?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
anymore. But yeah.
Okay, that's such. So what keeps you going? What keeps you high energy? I mean, me I'm selling real estate, girl, and you've got your real estate
I
license
have
too.
my real estate license.
Congratulations! I'm like, dang, what else could she do? Kim is giving you a shout out. Kim Scardina, Carrie L. Steele said, "Way to go, cousin."
Hey.
Rita Mayfield is amazingly strong and stands firm in her conviction for the community. Kim from Triple C's NFP, which I just met her at an event that you helped kind of fund that
Triple
too.
C is amazing. They are actually partnering with Legacy Reentry Foundation this year, and I think the two of them are going to be just dynamic in the community as far as reaching out to the individuals out there. We're talking about recidivism, those individuals who have come out of the system, and we want to make sure they don't go back in. So providing those services for them, but there's also what Legacy is doing, and that is the pre-entry piece.
Yes.
Which is absolutely amazing. And I have to shout this out because Legacy actually, when they came and testified before committee, for their funding, every Republican said yes to giving them funding.
Yes.
When they got through, because they were doing something that that really needs to be done. They are addressing an issue. They're making sure that our youth are not entering the system. And you have to put things in place in order to make sure that our youth are getting the services that they need. Some of our kids, they're lost. They don't know which way to go. They're suffering from peer pressure, depression, drugs, substance abuse, violence in the home. There's just so much. So who do they go to? Who can they talk to? Where do they get those mentors that are actually going to be able to talk to them on their level, be able to reach them and say, you know what? I understand what it is you're going through, but you don't have to go down that road.
Yes.
There are so many other opportunities for you.
Shout out George. I mean,
Yes.
Legacy, we had him on, I think it was
Yes.
a week or 2 weeks ago, and I learned so much there. And I'm like, wow, we have some really amazing resources in our community, and you were a huge part of that. So thank you. Thanks for believing in that and helping him, because he told me, he's like, I didn't know what we were doing. Rita kind of just guided us through that to be able to get the funding.
We got through that one together.
What keeps you going? Because I know me, girl, one bad real estate transaction, I'm like, I quit. I can't deal with people.
I've had several of those.
How do you keep it? But you know how that is, right? Like it can be very stressful.
It can be.
And when people are relying on you so much too. How do you, on top of being a mom, because you have kids, on top of being, just a woman in general, wife, and all of these other things, how do you continue to keep moving for the community? Is it just the love of the community that keeps you going?
It is totally my love for the community, but it's also knowing that you're making a difference. I do my best. If somebody comes to me and I'm able to help them, I will bend over backwards to help somebody. I don't need thank yous. That's not what I'm in it for. But just seeing Legacy, seeing them grow. Angel's Boxing Academy.
Yeah, shout out
Oh
Angel.
my gosh, shout out Angel. He's Angel Lopez. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Angel Lopez. He's doing a fabulous, fabulous job. That is what keeps me going. When you see these El Piro football with the soccer league in the summertime, I went out there. He had over a couple hundred kids out there, all different. Oh my God, all ages, all races. And it was just amazing. And then he had the families. He actually brought the families in. He had that component. So when you go out there and you're seeing the individuals that you're helping and you're seeing what they're doing in the community, and how that is helping others, that's what keeps you going, knowing that you truly are making a difference. I'm not just out here just saying, okay, hey, let's go do a photo shoot over here for today.
Right.
No, I don't need a photo shoot.
Right.
I just need you to be successful. I need you to give back, each one reach one.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me going.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see you have this energy, because I'm like, how does she do it? But people ask me the same thing. Alyssa, how do you do it? How do you do a podcast?
Yeah, you're all
like,
over
you just
the
do it
place.
because I love it.
Yeah.
Because I love it. And when you love something and when you love the people that you're serving with it, it keeps you going, right? So for anybody that doesn't really know, like I didn't know that people could come to you and say, this is what we have going on. Can you help us get funding? Whether it's Angels Boxing Academy, whether it's El Puro Football, whether it's George at Legacy. What does that look like? And I know you got to say no to some things, because some people's, it's not set up properly. No, but maybe not right now. Maybe get this in order.
Right.
How does that process look like if somebody's like, listen, I have this great idea. It's going to help kids. It's going to help families. It's going to help our community. We just don't have the funding. Do people come to you for something like that? Okay.
All the time. And there's different degrees of that, because I have individuals who come to me with their phone and say, this is my business plan. I need $1 million. No, you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
We're going to walk you through the process. So there are other individuals in the community that are doing things. Eddie Soto down at the Hub, Greater Development Corporation, shout them out. I've sent businesses to him, and he's helped them work out their business plan. I've sent nonprofits to him saying, hey, they need to get GATA certified. Let's help them with their paperwork. And then I want to say it was 2 years ago, Senator Johnson and I, we started doing GATA workshops. These are workshops that walks individuals through. So if you want to start a nonprofit, we're going to walk you through from A to Z, everything that you need to do in order to start your nonprofit.
It's amazing.
After you start your nonprofit, now the next step is we're going to show you where to go to apply for grants, because the grants are out there. There are literally, and I'm saying this, I hope everybody's paying attention, millions and millions, tens of millions of thousands, millions of dollars, not thousands, tens of millions of dollars that are left on the table every year because individuals do not apply for grants. So we want to make sure that everybody in this community knows what it is, how to get these grants. So
Wow.
we've been working with them. We've got another grant workshop that's coming up in August. We've been doing quite a few of them. We're talking about doing them on the road because there are other representatives that we're getting individuals from Rockford, from Aurora, other places that are reaching out to us, Senator Johnson and I, saying, can you help us? Because their reps don't understand the process on how to get GATA certified. So we're getting bombarded, not just with our district, but with other
You
communities.
do a workshop.
Right. So we're doing workshops now. We're just opening it up to any and everybody. Come on. We will show you how to do this.
Is there a website for that we can put in the chat or anything?
There's not a website because these are our slides,
Right.
but again in August, Senator Johnson and I look for the flyer. RitaMayfield60.com is my website.
We'll put that in the
60th
chat.
Right. 60th district at gmail.com is my email. We do have a newsletter that goes out every Friday. All of our events are in there. All the community events are in there. We also have a grant workshop, a grant newsletter and a jobs newsletter. So just 60th district at gmail.com, 847-599-2800. Call, sign up, get on the mailing list. We will send you
That's
everything.
amazing.
But we also are doing with Eddie Soto, we have a business one-on-one that is coming up. It was supposed to be July 31st, but it's going to get postponed to August. And that'll be for those individuals who have businesses that want, how do you start your business? How do you maintain your business? There used to be grants for businesses, but there aren't anymore. There's just mostly loans. So you really have to know how to work that business plan. How do you set up your business in today's economy so that you can be sustainable?
Yeah.
So that is what that workshop is going to be. So we've
Wow.
got that coming up. We have a financial workshop coming up. What we found out is a lot of individuals don't even understand bank accounts.
Oh, girl.
They don't understand credit cards. So
Taxes, filing taxes is a whole different
So
thing.
we've got a financial workshop coming up this month here in July. Love to have as many people show up for that. Shout out to Brandon Ewing. He did the first one.
I'm
with
gonna
us.
get him on here, Brandon.
You got to get Brandon on
I
here.
told him, I wrote him
Brandon
yesterday.
is amazing. I said it. I love Brandon. He is doing a great job with his credit union as far as, reaching out to the community. He came out and he's actually been doing smaller workshops with students, showing them, how to make your money grow,
Yeah.
how to get that first bank account. It's important. Parents, please teach your children how to save.
And it's hard
even if
because
it's
sometimes
just
the
$1.
parents, even the parents don't know. And I think that's something that I'm constantly battling with is the financial setup.
Yes.
Right. What does credit mean? Because if
Right.
you're like, we never were taught it. So that's why I'm going to get Brandon out here. Shout out
Yeah.
Brandon Ewing to talk about credit because I deal with parents, grandparents who've never been able to own a house and maybe they make a lot of money, but the management's not there. The credit understanding is not there. Angel's showing you love. Angel Vega's showing you love. Angel Rodriguez showing you love. Jessica Rodriguez. Everyone's showing you so much love.
you.
I'm curious about, you said that there's millions of dollars left on the table every year,
year.
for grant programs for not-for-profits, right?
Yes.
As somebody who's seeing all of these things come in, I just want to pick your brain a little bit. You're watching all of these ideas. What's one idea that you wish somebody would bring to the table?
I don't know if I have one idea because there's just so much out there. I don't think there's anything that no one is doing.
Okay.
We've got individuals that are out here that are providing mentorship programs, and they're doing it very creatively.
Yes.
And I think that's what it's all about. When we talk about the grants, and the violence prevention grants specifically, and I try to explain to everybody, violence prevention is not street intervention. There's a difference. Yes, you can do the street interruption and all of that, but if you're providing a mentorship program, if you're providing an after-school program, if you are doing anything that'll keep a child off the street and out of gangs, you are doing violence prevention. You can use art as a measure for violence prevention. A lot of our children are suffering from depression. We need mentors. We need counselors. We just need individuals that are willing to take the time with our youth because they truly, truly need it. One of the things that, and I just kind of pat myself on the back.
Yes,
for this
I'm
one.
patting you too, girl.
Thank you. I actually was able to find some funding for Waukegan High School. There, right after COVID, we had a lot of children that were having trouble adjusting to coming back to school, coming off of that social isolation. And a lot of them were considering self-harm. And we just did not have enough social workers in the school district to deal with that. So that was one of the things that I was able to get funding for. And I really believe it has made a substantial difference, and that came as a result of a parent calling me and saying, hey, my daughter tried to commit suicide, the night before, and she had no resources, nowhere to go. She's like, what do I do? Who do I call? And just trying to find resources for her, it was just
It's sad. A lot of the kids deal with it these days, and then social media. I mean, it's so much deeper. Which shout out once again to Legacy on the screenshot movie that they did that you helped with.
Very good. Yes.
I do have somebody here who's asking what environmental grants are available for our community, if there are any.
Environmental grants are a little bit difficult. Yes, there are some. There are environmental grants that are available through CEJA, the Clean Energy Jobs Act. So if you look through there, we have a lot for solar development. There's energy. Yeah, there's grants for that. The Illinois IEPA, they had some cleanup grants. They're very technical. So I am not an expert when it comes to some of the technicalities, especially when you start talking about environmental law and that kind of thing. So, but if you read through the application, you should be able to go through and fill those out. But the Illinois IEPA website has a lot of those. You can check the Pollution Board's website. All of the grants are on the state of Illinois' website.
Beautiful.
So you can go out there depending on what it is you're looking for. If you're looking for arts, you can go to the Arts Council. If you're looking for Human Services, Department of Human Services, they have a ton. If you're looking for violence prevention, ICEJA, DHS. What do we also have? Public Health has a lot of grants. There's
Public health is great.
Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
There's
a
ton of grants out there.
I have a question. So you're in these rooms with all these different people who are presenting their legislation. The lobbyists are coming at it. Everything's happening, right? You're working. You're doing the people's work, right? Public service. When you look at where you're from and where you were raised, and you're looking at these other senators and people in their areas, do you notice a huge difference between what you're presenting in your community versus their communities? Like when we're talking about Waukegan or Chicago and the things that we're asking for in comparison to other communities and things that they might be asking for, is there a huge difference?
No, because I think we're all out there. We're all fighting for pretty much the same thing. So it doesn't matter if you're from one of the most influential areas, let's say Wilmette, they've got a lot of money down there. Their kids are struggling too. So their kids
talk about it, Rita. Come on.
No, their kids are looking for they're looking for funding, for mentorship programs for their children. They're dealing with depression. They're dealing with domestic violence. They're dealing with pretty much everything that we're dealing with here. It's not talked about as much, but when we file these bills, they're jumping right on because these are the same issues that they're having in their communities. And of course, everybody's asking for money.
Right.
So it's a small pool of money. And it's very important to be in those rooms when they're talking about money. I never miss a budget meeting. I never miss any meeting where they say they're going to be talking about $1 because I want every penny I can get for this community.
Okay,
I am there.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's something that's so important that you mentioned is people talk about, well, if I move over here, I'm not going to have these problems and our kids are not going to deal with this because they have more money over here. They're more influential or whatever. And I'm like, they're still dealing with it. They're dealing with it in maybe just different ways.
They're dealing with it in different ways. They're dealing with, they have a huge drug problem, in a lot of the more affluent, communities. But again, it's just not talked about as much. A lot of things are more hushed. The domestic violence is huge in some of these communities. They're not talking about it. They're dealing with incest.
Yeah.
They're dealing with a lot of things that are just more, hushed up. We don't talk about.
We really
these
don't
things.
talk about it.
But those are the communities that really need to be talking about it because those children are suffering. Those children need help. And if you can't go to mom because mom doesn't want to, oh my God, we can't let this get out of the country club.
What are people going to think
my
about
child,
us?
Wants to self-harm, and I blame the parents for that when these things happen. No, your child needs help. You should be paying attention to what's going on with your child as opposed to what's going on at the country club.
Girl, talk about
Yes.
And I think that's something, I get clients all the time who really think that moving is going to change things. And I'm like, no, you're just switching your problems for a different zip code.
It's just
That's
geography.
all it is. It's just it starts at home.
Yep.
It starts with being able to talk about things and have those conversations. So I think that's a really great point that you made. So thank you.
Yeah.
What pieces of
legislation,
girl?
It's okay.
It's these things right here in my mouth. What pieces of legislation are you currently working on that you're really excited about?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know if I'm going to say I'm excited, but
Yeah.
I'm very adamant that we
Yes.
are going to get this coal ash issue passed.
Okay.
So for those of you that don't know, we've got NRG down on our lakefront. They've got these coal ash ponds. So we've got what's called the legacy pond, which is where they just dumped all the ash on the ground. And now it is seeping into our groundwater and poisoning our groundwater. We know this because NRG put it on their website and told us all of the chemicals that are seeping into the groundwater.
So that's the black sand is not black sand?
No.
I was over here like Lake County, they were posting like, we got black sand. I was like, no, that looks like asbestos.
We have coal ash. So the issue is our drinking water comes from Lake Michigan.
Yes.
And when you have these ash ponds, in a community that does have flooding, and we have, our shorelines are slowly dwindling away, it's a matter of time. So I've been fighting this legislation, Senator Johnson and I, for the last couple years. We've been, it seems like we get it passed in one chamber, it doesn't make it out of the other. It's just been a back and forth. But we're not going to give up. Finally, the pollution board is on board with what it is that we're trying to do. They're putting things in place. NRG is fighting tooth and nail. They don't want to clean up this coal ash. And we're not asking too much. This is a $1 billion corporation. They can certainly clean up their
NRG.
mess. Yes, they can certainly clean up their mess. They're refusing to clean it up. They'd rather pay attorneys than clean up the mess that's here in our backyard. They're like, oh, well, Waukegan has other super funds. What's one more? That's exactly what it is. It's one more, and we're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to stand for it. We're going to continue to fight and do everything that we absolutely can. Because if you think about Lake Michigan, not only do we get our drinking water from Lake Michigan, so does Wisconsin, so does Michigan.
Right.
I've actually done radio shows with individuals from Michigan because they are so concerned about what's happening on the shorelines here in Illinois. What happens if that coal ash gets into the water? This is going to be way worse than Flint, Michigan, because once it gets in the water, you're never getting it out.
Right.
Right.
So has there been any studies of what that could affect in the human body of the coal ash?
It'll kill you.
It'll just kill you, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you have been fighting this for a long time.
We have been fighting this for a while. So when you say excited, I don't know if I'm excited,
Right,
but
I'm just determined.
I'm determined because we are definitely going to, move forward on this. And I got to shout out City of Waukegan because they've totally been great partners in this. Sandy Hart with the Lake County Board, she actually did a resolution. Thank you to the county board for that, saying that we absolutely have to remove this coal ash from our shores. So this is a community action. Well, what does it look like? They actually have to scoop it up, put it in trucks, and then they have to move it. The closest place is right here in Bristol. So we're not talking about, I believe NRG said that we would have to take this and it would be hundreds of thousands of trucks that would have to take this coal ash, flying all over. No. Of course, you're going to put it in a sealed container.
Course.
You've moved it before. Let's not pretend like you don't know the process.
Right.
The fact is you don't want to move it.
Right.
We have a dump that's not that far, right over the border, that's willing to take it. It can also be used as underlayment in roads. So it does have other uses. You can repurpose it. It does have uses. But, it's just getting there. And like I said, we're dealing with it. We're a company that does not want to do that.
Can the community help with any of pushing legislation?
The community has been amazing. And thank you. Let me just shout out to Clean Power Lake County, the Sierra Club. Oh my God. Stop ETO. We've had so many community organizations that have all, gotten involved with this issue. Every single time that we've had a community hearing from the EPA, the Pollution Board, they have shown up and just shown up in large numbers. And everybody that has come up there, from our smallest children, I believe our youngest child that I saw that actually testified was 5 years old,
my gosh.
saying, please clean up the shores. We know we need clean drinking water. To our oldest was maybe 70 or 80 years old. And everybody in between was just speaking out and saying how important it is that we clean up our shoreline, how important it is that we protect our drinking water. All of these $1 million mansions down Sheridan Road, Lakeshore Drive, they're not going to be worth anything because you can't drink the water.
Right. And that's what I was going to ask too is, you got my brain working here. So if, let's say it does become as horrible as Flint, Michigan, right?
It'd be way worse.
Way worse than that. And we don't have, look at how many people we have compared to Flint, right? How many more people are affected? What do you see that looking like on energy's side to try to fix something like that up? Isn't it going to cost way more money than just fixing the problem now?
It would take decades. decades, maybe even a century to fix it, because now you're affecting all the wildlife. So you're going to kill all the fish that are in Lake Michigan. We have a robust, salmon fishing industry that's gone. Totally dead. All the properties around are totally useless. All of the businesses that rely on clean water in order to run their businesses are automatically.
We just want them to clean it up.
Right. They're just going to be shut down.
NRG, y'all, whoever's
Please, NRG.
NRG, come on, work with us here.
Right.
We got some really great people around here.
They actually received a grant from the state to put battery storage in that facility. Well, you can't have that battery storage there with this dirty pond. Move the pond and then move forward with the battery storage that you got through, CEJA.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Isn't that frustrating? See, this is why, like, when I think about, people are like, oh, maybe you should run one day for. No, because I'd fight. I would just pop up. I can't. I can't. I would just literally just go knock on somebody's door. Right. And I don't know if I'd have the patience to deal with fighting for years and years. So thank you for doing it for us.
You just have to be really determined. I've got a, when I talk to students, I always say never accept no for an answer. So you can keep telling me no, but that's not going to stop me. I'm going to keep coming. I'm going to keep coming. I'm going to keep asking. I'm going to keep doing what I need to do, because eventually that no is going to turn into a yes, and we're going to get this done.
Wow. So there's one. There's one thing we're determined and kind of would be very excited if it went through, right? Is there another one?
I've been working on juvenile, the age for juvenile detention. Okay. So, and it's a very, very hard lift. It's a very hard lift, but it's near and dear to me. DJJ, our juvenile detention centers. When a child commits a horrific crime, and unfortunately it does happen, and it's just truly horrific, I believe we have a responsibility to rehabilitate that child, not to throw them into a system that is going to turn them into predators or super criminals. We need to do something for those children. So they're going in at 12. We were able to raise for certain children to the age of 13. We're trying to move that up to 14. Those children that are just truly going to be sustained, imprisoned without having those wraparound services. If we can put a child into a community setting and provide them with wraparound services so that they can truly become contributing citizens, to grow positively, and I know that's not the right word I'm looking for, but we just have to do better with our children. I'm not happy with DJJ. I'm not happy with the treatment of our children, the abuse that has happened to our children in that system. And then you wonder why these children, continue to reoffend. Well, they haven't been rehabilitated. They didn't receive any services. And we're spending a lot of taxpayer dollars for these children to not provide those services, to turn their lives around. We know that the science is there. Their brains are not fully developed. We know that these children can become successful contributing citizens. They can truly grow up to do something spectacular if we give them that opportunity. We don't have to continue to feed the criminal justice system.
I love that. That's so
something
good.
I've been working on.
Oh my gosh. What would you say that our community needs from, just day-to-day people? And somebody who's, and we're all day-to-day, but, somebody who's maybe not in public service. As parents, would it be just spending more time with, like, we're seeing the effects of just spending more time with your kids and reading to your kids? I mean, there's so many things. What would you say are the top 3 things that somebody could do to just, I don't know, have
Can we start just by being kind to each other?
There we go.
Start there?
Yeah.
Can we just start there? I always say, as women, we have to straighten each other's crowns. But a lot of times, because children, they mimic the actions that they see. So when you have someone that's constantly, unhappy, they're just negative, you're feeding that into your children. So you have to be very careful what you're feeding into them. But from a community perspective, we just need more people to care.
Yeah.
You know, it is so easy to walk by somebody that's hurting or to see somebody that is down and continue to kick them while they're down. No, help that person up. And I'm not saying you have to give them money, but
Right.
you can direct them to resources. You know, I see you're hungry. Did you know that there's a food pantry over here that every Saturday or Sunday, you know, gives out free food? You know, direct people to where it is that they can go to receive these services. We have a wonderful township office that provides a wealth of services to individuals. Did you know? You know, I'm also, you know, when we had these heat advisory days, you know, did you check on your elderly neighbors? You
Right.
know,
Just being kind.
little
Those things, the
those
real
little
things that make us human again,
That's
right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's so good. And you know, you're saying all of these things, and as somebody who's in the community and seeing the community, sometimes I feel like we don't even know that we have these resources until we sit down and we watch a podcast like this, or until, you know, you go to these events and people's eyes are open. And I think it's really unfortunate that we have such a beautiful big community, whether it's Zion or Chicago. I'm just thinking about
Right. The
where we are,
Tri-Cities,
the
Waukegan, Zion, and North
Tri-Cities,
Chicago,
right?
yes.
But we're not even aware sometimes of these beautiful programs that we have. Have you ever thought about sending something out? This is just an idea. My brain's already marketing. My brain's already marketing. I'm already marketing. Have you ever thought about sending out something like yellow pages wise of all the resources? I don't know how much something like that would cost to send to every house and say, did you know that these are the resources that our community offers? Because not everybody's going on the websites. Not everybody's,
Not everybody's utilizing 211.
Right.
'Cause we still get a lot of
I didn't
calls
even know
from
what 211 is, girl.
Right.
I'm a 90s baby. So, you know, is there something there that is easy and accessible other than social media? Because not everybody's going to one place where we can tell everybody everything that we have in certain areas.
Well, I'm going to direct everybody to 211 because that is what they literally receive a lot of money to provide those services.
211.
Right. They're your one-stop shop.
Okay.
Okay. But if you don't want to call 211, if you just really want to have that conversation, you can always come to my office. You can give me a call, or, you know, because we get individuals all the time, you know, sometimes people are embarrassed.
Yeah.
So they like to go with what's familiar. So I
Right.
get a lot of calls for food pantries. So we maintain a list of all the local food pantries, the days you can go, you know, and just get your food. Housing. We get a lot of questions. You know, people need help with housing. Where do I go? You know, this is where, you know, these are the Section 8 offices. This is where you can go to get the list of all the subsidized housing. You know, just trying to develop lists that we can give out to individuals. You know, haven't put anything in print. No, I am working on the Black Pages, though, which is like a black and brown resource of all of the businesses,
I love that.
nonprofits.
I
that are
love
out here.
that.
We were supposed to have it ready for Juneteenth. Didn't happen, but we will have it available for the next event.
See, me,
Yeah.
me, Rita, I didn't even know I could call 211. I didn't even know what I was like, what's
Please call
211?
211 if you need services. That's what they're there for. You know, and what we do, we have a lot of individuals out here in this community, and individuals, and because you talked about marketing, I think that is a need. We need someone who's not going to charge an arm and a leg to some of these startups to help them market.
Yeah.
You know, their nonprofit.
Marketing is huge.
Right. You know, because we do have a lot of great nonprofit organizations, but like you just said, unless you go to an event and you see them, you don't know who they are.
And their job is not to market. Let's be honest, right? As somebody who loves marketing, I have to realize I can't expect that from somebody who doesn't know that their niche is taking care of and doing what they're doing.
Right.
But you got to hire somebody or find somebody who's going to do it and help you do just that to market, because people don't know it exists.
And they don't have the budgets either.
Exactly.
That's part of it. So that's what I'm saying. Having some place that's reasonable, that's willing to work with these nonprofits. You know, I think that is a need that we definitely have in the community.
Don't get me started, girl, because I'm thinking I'm already marketing in my mind this whole thing. It's coming up. I love that. Before we end, and this has been so good. Everyone's saying, you know, I've learned so much. I know you were like, Alyssa, how am I going to talk for an hour? I'm gonna get it out of you, girl. I'm gonna get it out of you. I'm gonna get it out of you. You know, Mario Garcia, which Mario, he's always inviting me to so many
Mario.
things.
Hey,
Girl,
Mario,
he loves
shout
you.
out
He said,
Mario.
thank you, State Rep Rita Mayfield, for everything you do.
He does a lot in the community.
Angel Vega said, I have learned so much. Angels Boxing said, this is the kind of information about organizations and services that would be really valuable for people, you know, even as part of an education class. I love this. And Paul, shout out Paul. He said, you know, good looking team. Stop ETO is saying things and everything's great. Raquel, everyone's loving on you right now. So I got to give them a shout out just for tuning in. And before we end, what has been one of the biggest highlights of this whole journey for you so far? And I know you're not even close to thinking about being done. I know you've got so much more work in you, but what has been, it could be personal. It could be a piece of legislation. What has been one of your
Oh, well, we're going to
biggest?
get personal. Can I just shout out my daughter?
Aw.
My daughter just graduated from DePaul with her bachelor's degree in chemistry. She's going to be a chemist. She starts her master's program in September. That is my greatest accomplishment.
Aw.
I work so hard. Like you said, I sell the real estate. I do I wear all these different
Yes.
hats. And people are like, well, how can you do all of this? Why are you doing all of this? I do it for my daughter.
My
a lot of the
tissues are
things,
here. I'm gonna
right?
cry.
That second, third, fourth job. Trust me, I'm not living that well. We still eat spaghetti a lot in our house. So
But it's okay because the whole community, you're helping the whole community eat. So if you just got to
Yes.
eat some spaghetti,
Yeah.
that's okay.
I was just joking with my son the other day. I'm making spaghetti. He's like, "Oh God, please tell me you're not going to freeze it because we used to freeze the leftovers and take
Right,
them back
because you're
out."
busy. You got things you got to do. Unfreeze the
that's
spaghetti.
right. There's spaghetti in there. We're not going to go hungry.
Literally.
Yes,
What's your
but-
daughter's name?
My daughter's name is Ayana, and I'm
Ayana.
just so proud of her. So but that's my greatest accomplishment.
And she's got to be proud of you.
I hope
She's never probably, she sees all the work you're doing. I know some kids are like, Mom, you never spent time with me. Maybe there's been moments. Let's be real. My kids are like, Mom, can you put down the phone for 5 minutes? And I'm like, I'm trying to make a better life for us.
Exactly.
But there's some kids that are just so spectacular and understanding that are like, I get it. I'll unfreeze the spaghetti, Mom. Go do what you got to do.
No, they're not going to unfreeze the
They
spaghetti.
said no. We're gonna go order Cane's or
Right. They're going to
Chick-fil-A.
want something else. Right. The only way they're going to get it is if I unfreeze it and put it on
Okay,
the table.
but you're managing
and then
so
I'm
well.
torturing them.
Yeah, right. Spaghetti again. Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Okay. It was quick and easy.
Oh, I love that. So that's on a personal note. What about career-wise? What would you
Career-wise?
say is one of your biggest highlights in your career so far? Or in your work? It's not even, I wouldn't even call it career, in the public service for the people. Has there been one person that's really stood out to you that you've helped, that you've just seen them just take what you've given them and really steward it well?
Oh, I don't want to shout out an individual because I've helped a lot of individuals, and I don't want to put anybody's business out there.
Absolutely.
But I have truly helped a lot of people, and I will continue to help them. I think everybody in the community knows if you truly need help, you can call me.
Yeah.
My phone number is public. It truly is. People call me all the time, and I do my best to help. But from a business perspective or from a nonprofit perspective, I definitely have to shout out, again, Angels Boxing Academy.
Yes.
George and Regina with Legacy Reentry Foundation. My friend Oscar Zapata with El Piro Football, with his soccer league and all that he's doing. Club Apaseo, Armando Pino with the food pantry. He's done just an excellent job with that. There's just so many success stories out there, and I'm just grateful to have just been a small part, of helping them to achieve their dreams, to help them to take it to that next level. And I'm looking to help so many more. People are like, well, how do you figure out who it is do you help? I'll help anybody.
Yeah.
Now, am I going to write your grant for you? No, but I will show you how to get those grants. I will absolutely show you. I've had people say, can you look over my grant? Does it look okay? I'll read it through if it makes sense to me, but I can't guarantee it'll,
Right.
But
I'm not
I
the
will
final
take that
say.
time.
Yeah.
If you ask me to, I'm more than willing. I've met with certain nonprofits 3, 4, 5, 6 different times, just trying to get them where they need to go. It's like, okay, we've done this. What do I do next? What do I do next? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I hate to keep bugging. You're not bugging me.
Right.
I'm here to help. That's my job, So you don't ever feel that, that you're inconveniencing me to ask me to do what I,
Right. What I signed up to do.
No,
I'm
right.
literally-
I signed up for this.
Yeah.
So no, it's okay. I totally don't mind. I want to help. So please, when we have these grant workshops, come out. There's no such thing as a dumb question. We want you to be successful. When we do these financial literacy, when we do the business 101s, please come out. We got a health fair that's coming up. We'll have a lot of health vendors. Take care of yourself. Find time for yourself.
Amen.
Senator Johnson and I were just talking about that over the 4th of July weekend. How we both just took a minute just to woo-saw.
Yeah.
Because you have to do that. That self-care piece is very, very important. Especially for women. We're extremely busy. We take care of everybody but ourselves.
Yep.
So ladies, please, please, please take care of yourself.
There's not
Take
much
care
you
of
can do.
yourself.
Yes, thank you, girl. I'm
know?
trying. We went and got massages today because
Yes.
you got to know when you're running around and doing all these things. You got to be able to take care of yourself. Whether you're mom,
Yes.
stay-at-home mom, no kids, and you're just working, whatever it is.
Yes.
Health is a priority because you're no good under there,
That's
other than
right.
for the kingdom of heaven, if that's even
That's
where
right.
where you go. But this has been so much fun, and I've learned so much, and I think that's part of why I love this podcast is because I get to sit with amazing people
This
like
was
you
great. Thank
who are
you
doing.
so
Yes, of
much.
course, you're doing amazing things in the community. I want to encourage you to continue to do it. You don't need my encouragement because you are just your own vessel, and you just go. And I love seeing it. But I just want to let you know that we appreciate you, and it's very visible here that so many people appreciate you, and I love seeing you every and anywhere and just supporting other people. So I encourage you to just
That's what
keep
it's all
on
about.
going, girl.
You have to give back.
You have to. And I think, I look at our community and I'm friends with everybody from every different walk of life. And it pains me to see that people don't know that there's resources. And then I sit with you and I'm like, wow. And I sit with George and I'm like, wow. And I sit with Brandon. I'm like, there's so many. So if I could be the medium between them finding out where the resources are and being like still crazy on my own side of the spectrum too, I'm happy to be that and continue to have amazing guests like you on. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
So that means I have to do a resource fair now. So be
Please
looking
do.
forward to
Yeah,
that.
a resource fair. I would
Yes.
love to help you even partner with that and put that and market it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, before we shut this thing down tonight, thank you again. Is there anything you want to
you.
say to anybody before we finish?
No, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Please sign up for my newsletters. You can sign up at 60thdistrict@gmail.com. That's my email, 60thdistrict@gmail.com. You can call the office, 847-599-2800. Just please, tune in, follow me. If you have questions, just know that I am available. I am your representative.
Yes.
So I am here for you.
Yes.
So just thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for having me.
It's such a
This
pleasure.
was just totally, totally amazing. We have a grant workshop that's coming up in August. Please, if you don't have the newsletter, sign up for newsletters. You want to go to the grant workshop. We have a health fair coming up. We have financial literacy coming up. Oh, I have to give a shout out. August 15th, Hope Fest.
Hope Fest.
Oh my
Yes.
God, please. In memory of Hope Melendez, my best friend. She was 52 years old. She passed away from diabetes, went to sleep, never woke up. So please, health is important. Take care of
Yes.
yourself, but come out to help to Hope Fest. We have Law, Waukegan's very own, will be performing along with Tim Spin and Schomer and some of the best house DJs in Lake County.
It's lit.
It's going to be lit. We're going to have food trucks. George's on the George's on the Go will be there. Toluca's will be there.
Oh, shout out Edwin.
El
Yes.
Jefe will be
Jefe,
there.
yes.
So please, I'm telling you, you do not want to miss Hope Fest this
You
year.
do not want to miss it. And
Greentown on the Rocks.
Greentown on the Rocks. This has been Rita Mayfield, our state representative. And also everyone's coming in and saying all the resources that they've got there. So please feel free to screenshot this, save this.
Oh, please screenshot your resources, please.
Yes. And as we know, Robert, can we get the website that you said to sign up for the newsletter on the chat, if that's possible? Can we?
It's the email, 60thdistrict@gmail.com.
60th district at Gmail. Thank you. And once again, before we go ahead and end this, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Milani's
Yes,
Daycare,
thank you.
who paid for this beautiful production. This is a live production. This is legit. Too legit to quit by RF39 Productions. We've got beautiful Christina and Robert
you.
back there who bring you guys this weekly podcast. Every Sunday we try to come live, so please make sure that you guys are following RF39 Productions and go follow Milani's Daycare if you're looking for a daycare for your kid that feels warm, that feels safe, that's friendly, and has been around and been trusted for a long time. You're gonna want to go follow Milani's Daycare. They are located in Gurnee, and you can call them at 224-321-4730. And you have been watching Dial In. So thank you. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Hello.
Turn it up loud, but bring them all out. Turn it up loud, but bring them all out. Turn it up loud, but